Hey everybody, welcome to Too Much CGI. My name is Bill. This is Scott. We love to talk about all the stuff we grew up on. We still love it today. It still survives most of the stuff we love. I mean, shit. When we were kids, did you think Transformers would still be around? I didn't. I thought it was like it only survived when you were a kid. But we grew up, and all this really cool stuff grew up with us, and we love to talk about it. How are you, Scott? What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about evil consumerism. Talking about infomercials, direct-to-consumer marketing, all those great commercials we watched as kids where you could, but wait, there's more.
As seen on TV.
As seen on TV is what it became. Absolutely right. But this is going back in the day when you couldn't buy this stuff in stores. This stuff you had to send away for, you had to call with your Visa, MasterCard, or COD. I didn't even know what the fuck a COD was when I was growing up, but that was always the big thing on the blue screen with the phone number and the Visa and the MasterCard and call now.
I always wondered about the Ginsu knives. It seemed like for a period, everybody was giving away Ginsu knives, and I'm sure it was one company, and to my dumb head, it seemed like a bunch of different ones, but I'm like, wow, people are really into free knives. Adults love free knives.
We're going to get into Ginsu, absolutely. There were a lot of copycats, but Ginsu was the OG when it came to the knife game.
And you even said to me, you said, man, listen, there's going to be a lot of things I talk about that you're going to remember. Because I said earlier, man, I don't think I remember a lot of infomercials. And then as I started to think about it, I said, oh, wait a minute, they're coming back to me.
So a few episodes back, we were talking about cartoons, and you were talking all about Saturday morning cartoons, and that's where you focused. And I focused solely on like after-school cartoons and the dailies. And I was like, why is that? And I was like, oh, yeah, me and my brother Todd, all we watched were infomercials growing up. Saturday mornings, we wouldn't watch Saturday morning cartoons. We were watching the infomercials.
On Saturday morning? I only ever saw them at like 3 in the morning when I was 14, feeling like a badass staying up late.
I am the ultimate badass.
Yeah.
Oh, no. There were some of the late night ones, too. But no, we watched Ron Popeil quite a bit.
Everybody, if you want to follow more of Too Much CGI, you can follow us on Twitter. We're also on Facebook. All you got to do is use that little search box and type Too Much CGI. You'll find us. We're pretty unique. I don't think anybody else has our name out there yet. Nobody's stolen it yet. You could also go to toomuchcgi.com. You can take a look at our beautiful faces. Not much else to do there. You can find all the places that you can subscribe, and you can send us an email too. If you want to get involved and send stuff into the show, we'll probably read it. Especially if it makes fun of Scott.
Absolutely.
And also, let's get this out of the way since we're doing this now. We have a sponsor. We'll do it real quick. Liquid IV, everybody, you already drink it. You already go out and buy it. So if you don't mind, buy it through us. We have a code, Too Much CGI. You can go to liquidiv.com and you can buy your IV. You can buy your IV. You can buy your IV through us, and that extra couple bucks really does help us. It pays some of the hosting fees and all sorts of things like that. So it's appreciated. If you don't do it, we're probably still going to do the show. It just means that we have to pay for it all. So what kind of person are you? You going to support us and go buy your Liquid IV through us? What if you don't drink Liquid IV? Will you start for us? That's the true question. How much do you love us? Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use your code TOOMUCHCGI, TOOMUCHCGI, at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code TOOMUCHCGI at liquidiv.com. Scott, I got a couple things here to talk about, and I don't know which way to go.
Okay.
I've been watching something like crazy, which is interesting, but I also have a surprise game.
Are they all related?
They are not really related. So what I've been watching, let me give you a little bit more context. I've been watching this guy on TV. I've never heard of this guy. His name is James Randi. Do you know who he is?
Never heard of him.
Well, we're going into this. So James Randi is this guy. He's this old-looking guy, white beard, balding head. Like you look at him, you'd think he was probably named, Freud, because he looks like one of those like really old type of, the Monopoly Man. He looks like the Monopoly Man, but he's a magician.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of magicians.
Sure.
I fucking hate psychics. Can't stand them. I find them to be con artists. I have seen them say things to people who believe them to be completely accurate, but the things that they tell them are just completely disturbing and disgusting, and I think they're con artists.
Well, they're manipulative. I don't see why you lump these two people together. Like, Harry Houdini is the most famous magician of all time, arguably. And he absolutely despised psychics and mediums and spiritualists. And he spent much of his life and potential afterlife to prove that they were just frauds. And he had like a secret word that he and his wife had, where if she were to go to these psychics, they had this keyword. And if the psychic wouldn't give the keyword, they were completely full of shit. They were charlatans, and he fucking shut them down. So lumping magicians and psychics or spiritualists together, I'm surprised you're doing that. I don't view them in the same vein.
No. So I am actually 1,000% in agreement with you. James Randi, the guy I'm talking about, also agrees. So this guy I'm talking about with the fucked up old looking face, he is a magician, like an old time magician. And he also, like Houdini, thinks it's completely different when these psychics are saying, you know, oh, I can do this with my mind and I can do all these things. And James Randi was watching these guys get bigger and bigger. Do you remember a guy named Uri Geller?
I know that name, yes.
Okay, so he was a big phenomenon. I think it was like the late 70s, so I was 3, you know. I really don't have
He was like a mentalist, right?
Yeah. He started that whole trend of people that can now move things with their mind and do things and, you know, I can now read thoughts.
Bend spoons and shit.
Well, that was Uri Geller's big thing. He was the spoon bender.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, so he had this one trick, and he would go on TV, and he would rub the part of the spoon where the stem, you know, met the little bowl part. And he would just kind of rub it softly. And he's like, if you think about it, you use your mind, you can get this thing to bend. And sure enough, on live TV, it starts bending until finally he just softly rubs the thing into 2 pieces. All right. It's a parlor trick. And this guy, James Randi, goes, well, what the fuck? He just lied to everybody. And there's no way that was real because these kind of things don't really happen. I'm a, you know, well, maybe not well-known. It was the old days. The cable TV wasn't a thing. So I don't know how well-known anybody is to anybody across the country in these days. But he was like, I'm going to go expose this guy.
Also in your hand, look. It's beginning. I'm just going to pick it up. There. You know, every time I do this, I'm amazed over and over again. And you saw it, I saw it. I don't have an explanation to it. Look at it.
And now for a response, let's go to Randy backstage.
Well, I must admit that Mr. Geller has amazed me, this time with his assumption that the American public is going to be impressed by 2 simple tricks, which, when I was a kid, frankly, used to be on the back of cornflake boxes. At summer camp, we used to do the old compass trick to impress the new campers. Sometimes they were impressed, sometimes they weren't. And of course, it's not necessary to say, move, and grunt and groan unless you have some sort of a digestive problem.
He had some show, you can find this on YouTube, where this guy, James Randi, just pulls up all these psychics and he puts them into a test. And he's like, go ahead. I want you to figure this out, but I'm going to make it a little harder for you. Like he had one guy, he's like, I'm the magnetic man. And he would put a, you know, big piece of, I think it was a mirror. He had a mirror on top of his chest and he's walking around and it's sticking. So this guy will walk up and go, okay, I'd like you to try this again. You've agreed to these terms. I'm going to add a certain ingredient. And he's like, he puts talcum powder on the guy's chest. Now suddenly his chest isn't sticky and the mirror falls right down. So this guy can figure out every one of these con artists' trick. James Randi, just go search for it in YouTube. Start searching for James Randi, psychic reveal fails, you know, all these things. And it is just so fun to watch these guys struggle on live TV. So one of my favorite stories that I found out is a incident where this happened on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. So Uri Geller, he's now super famous because of this trick that he can do. And by the way, the way this trick is done is you bend the spoon a hell of a lot of times before you get on set. And then when you get on set, you take that spoon that's pre-bent really bad, and your little bit of gentle touching can bend the damn thing. And usually if you bend it well enough and get the crease going good enough, just a little bit of friction can bend the thing in half and break it, is what I mean. So that's, by the way, how the trick is done. I taught you guys magic on the radio. How cool. So anyway, he's going on to the Tonight Show. I'm talking about Uri Geller. He's going on to the Tonight Show. Johnny Carson, you know, fancied himself a magician himself. So he's kind of like, what is this new phenomenon of these psychics who can do all these amazing things? So Johnny Carson really wanted to challenge Uri Geller. And he reached out to James Randi. And he said, what do I got to do to make sure that this guy can't fool me? And all he says is, he goes, don't let Uri Geller touch any of the stuff. Anything he brings in, you make sure that you have a perfect replica that you've put in its place. So it's like, here's a spoon for you, but I got my own perfectly identical spoon, and I'm going to keep it backstage. So when Uri Geller goes on stage, there's all these metal apparatuses, all these things sitting right there on the table. And the clips I saw don't really explain what he was going to do, but it didn't happen. So Uri comes out. And Johnny Carson's just like, well, okay, Uri, you say you can do all these things with your mind. We can't wait to see what you do here, and go ahead. And you just watch Uri go, something's not right. Like, these aren't my props. Well, okay, I'm going to need a little bit of time. Well, okay, I mean, how much time do you need? And he goes, well, your producers told, like, right away it's going bad when the guy has to go, well, your producers told me this was, going to be set up. Like, you could tell he's kind of like, hey, man, I'm stuck out here. Help me out.
No lifeline?
No fucking way. Johnny Carson, no lifeline. Johnny Carson let this guy just hang to the point where it just went to, like, the title card went up.
Wow.
We'll be right back. And it was just dead silence in the entire studio.
We have only met.
This scares me.
This scares you? Well, we just got some things together here, and as I said, as you progress and do what you want to do tonight, well, you can tell us what you would like to try, and we'll leave it up to you.
I'll try when I'll really feel up to it, okay?
As per your request earlier this afternoon, and if you want to try that or whenever you feel like it, one of our staff members did some drawings which have been sealed in an envelope, and I'd like you to take your own pace when you feel like you want to try anything.
Right.
Do you want to try that particular experiment first?
When I'll feel free.
When
okay?
you Sure. So, would you like to try anything here?
Why don't you ask some more questions?
Want me to ask you some more questions? Are you feeling in the mood yet? Huh?
Oh.
More questions?
All right,
What's the capital of South Dakota? No, I don't mean to press you.
Okay, he is really suspicious, I'm having a hard time with you.
I don't mean to be, Uri. I really don't.
Just keep looking. Okay, let me rest a little, all right?
All right.
I'm surprised because before this program, your producer came and he read me at least 40 questions you're going to ask me.
Well, I can ask you all kinds of questions if you'd like. If you'd like me to ask you questions.
I have to have time, and give me a little more time.
All right. We're gonna
touch it.
We'll cut away from a commercial, and I will verify, and everybody in the studio will verify that nobody will touch the objects. Okay? We are back. How are you feeling, Uri?
Fine. I feel fine myself.
In other words, this is something you just have to feel, and you can't be pressed on.
That's it. It can be pressed, and I'm sorry if that's it.
All right, we are back. Uri was telling me you don't feel what, strong tonight?
I don't feel strong. It's not all tonight. Right now, I'm feeling being pressed, and then I can't.
Well, I'm not trying to press you. I really not.
No, you're only telling me. Well, will you try that or that or that?
Well, I thought that was the idea of. No, I'm not trying to put you down. I didn't mean that patronizingly at all, because I have seen you on shows, and I thought the idea was to show, if you possibly could, some of the things that you claim you can do. And I certainly don't want to pressure you, and if you don't feel like you can do it tonight or don't wish to try, I certainly don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
Even those cold reading guys that could talk to your deceased relatives, like John Edwards came about, all those kind of guys, they were all just a bunch of fucking charlatans.
Yeah. There's a program that James Randi put out. I don't even know where he put it out. It doesn't look like an American show. And maybe it is. Maybe it was on like PBS where I never watched it. And now it's running on YouTube. And there's one segment where you know what this show is like? It's like that bullshit show with Penn and Teller.
Fool Us.
Fool Us. Yeah.
Yeah. Same type deal where they know, but Penn and Teller won't tell. They'll use code to kind of explain how the trick is done. Like, they'll say enough keywords that the magician's like, yeah, you got me. And a lot of the stuff's just like sleight of hand. The magicians that come on are really damn good at sleight of hand magic and stuff like that, and maybe the best at their game. But yeah, they'll just say a few keywords and they'll be like, yeah, you got me. But then there are people that come on there and they're just like, I have no idea how you did that. And they'll just be like, you fooled us. And they'll give them like the big FU trophy.
He revealed this one scene where this giant crowd collected, and this one guy is just sitting here and he's like, I'm reading your mind, and he's saying all these things. You have a sister named Julie, and she's got problems with her legs. And this woman's like, how do you know this stuff? What the program had done, James Randi show, is they picked up a frequency and they could hear the wife speaking to the guy. All right, look for Jill or whatever name I gave. So apparently before the show, these people go and they fill out these cards and it's just, let's learn some interesting things about you. And these guys jot it down, and that's what they end up using on the show. And they luckily get somebody who's simple enough to not realize, hey, this is all the stuff I just wrote down.
Or nowadays it's probably even easier because they just go to their Facebook page and see what all these fucking oversharers are putting on social media and just look up their name. They can do it just by their name.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I think if anybody believes in this psychic stuff, it's because you want to. Like, it's pretty easy to figure out that they're doing these cold reads and trying to walk you into believing something. And after you watch a bunch of these James Randi episodes or segments from the shows that he's had on through the years, you start to really put it together. You're like, oh, okay, that's what he's doing. And I'm guessing, and I'm about to move on, but I'm guessing it's a thing where magicians see it as an art form. You know, it's a true art form to them. They know we know it's not real. But there's a different element when a con artist starts to come in. And that's how they were seeing, well, that's how Randi and a bunch of other magicians were seeing Uri Geller as a con artist instead of a magician.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that's why the two started going after each other.
Yeah, if you start manipulating people out of money and shit like that, that's just in bad taste. That's just, it's going to ruin it for everybody. Nobody's going to trust any performer.
Yeah, Uri Geller on this one show where he became a household name, and I forget the show it was. I watched the segment this morning and already forgot. But he was saying, as he's showing this to the audience, as he's rubbing this spoon and he's changing the shape of the spoon, he's like, you all can do this. I want you all to go home. I want you to talk to your stuff. I want you to talk to your spoons and your engines, and you could repair engines yourself by talking to them. Come on, asshole. Enough with the shtick. Like, stupid people are going to believe you, and they probably did.
It's really not that much different than televangelist.
No, I just didn't want to go that far into it because I was afraid.
Yeah, I don't want to piss people off, but it's really along the same lines.
It's really along the same lines. Yeah, I watched this one where the guy said to the people in the, I don't know the words. I'm not religious. I hope y'all don't hold that against me. But they had said to the congregation, is that the people all sitting around?
Yes.
He says, Jesus wants you to buy me a jet.
Yeah.
Jesus wants you to buy me a jet to help me spread the word of God. He wants you to buy me this Gulfstream jet. Like, really? No way will people believe it. And people believed it.
It was actually, he wants you to buy me this newer version of this jet. I already have this other jet, but I need to fly in the newest version of the Gulfstream.
Yeah.
And they did.
It must be a good gig. Who are the two, Tammy Faye and Jim Baker?
Yeah.
Right? As humiliated as they got, Jim Baker came back. He tried it again.
Sure.
Going off the rails again. Whee! Well, yeah, anyway, go back. Check out James Randi. There's a whole universe there of this kind of fun little drama, if you like drama as much as I do.
I've been watching some things. I checked out Cocaine Bear last night.
I saw that. What'd you think of it?
It was fun for what it was.
Yeah. That's the kind of horror movie I like. It's so silly that it's like, all right, I can get into this. If it's realistic, it's just real life murder. But when it's like a high cocaine bear making funny faces, that's a good time.
As I'm watching that, I kept thinking like, oh, this is going to be Ray Liotta's last on-screen death. And it was like hilariously comical.
We just had an episode about actors' final movies, and we totally forgot Cocaine Bear.
I know. I also checked out some Wes Anderson. I watched Grand Budapest Hotel. I know you're not a Wes Anderson fan, but you know his dark comedies are pretty funny.
There's no reason I'm not a fan. Yeah, he just never got through to me, and I don't know why. If I had to start with his movies, where do you suggest I jump in?
Royal Tenenbaums is probably the best way to start. Or The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Okay.
That's a good one, too. But I also know the waters are kind of been tainted because I know you think Bill Murray's a dickhead now with all the shit that's coming out about him. So you may have a different feeling than I had when I watched.
You'd be surprised. I have some talents. I can actually have two independent thoughts at the same time. One, Bill, you're a dick. Two, Bill, you're entertaining me here. This is actually a very good performance, so I'll be able to put it aside.
Then either The Life Aquatic or The Royal Tenenbaums. Either one's good. Rushmore's good, too.
Rushmore, was that Okay, when that came out, I remember Jason Schwartzman, there was kind of a buzz about it. Is that his first movie, Wes Anderson?
I don't know. I don't know him well enough to know his whole history.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole I have to go down.
But Grand Budapest was pretty good. Had in all the... Owen Wilson was there. Wow. We've been doing this a lot lately with Owen Wilson.
It's great. Funnier every time.
Owen Wilson was there briefly. Bill Murray was there briefly. Jason Schwartzman was there briefly. They're all in there. Adrian Brody's in there. Like, he has his people.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I've been watching. That and a lot of YouTube.
We got a letter to go over, but before we go into that, are you in the mood for a surprise game?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Unless it brings the show to a screeching halt.
If it does, we'll just cut the segment.
I love it.
That's it. And the audience will never know that dive bombed the show again.
They won't hear any of this.
So I was thinking a lot of, I'm still on a high from that Extreme concert we talked about. And I told you guys how I ran up like a complete buffoon to the front of the stage and like a little fanboy, I fist bumped the singer of Extreme, but I had to yell his name out to get his attention. Like a little diva, I screamed, "Pay attention to me, Gary Sharon." And he whipped his head around and looked at me and fist bumped me and then just started laughing. And he made me so happy with that laugh. I'm thinking, that guy's a good guy. Like, if this makes you crack up, you got a great sense of humor and you're the kind of guy I want to hang out with. And I've thought about, sometimes reading a story or hearing a story about a celebrity being bad, that stuff goes around.
Oh, yeah.
So there's bad celebrities and there's good celebrities out there. Wouldn't it be a shame if somebody went and reported all of these good and bad stories to a website for me to take and then make a game out of?
I was going to say, the fact we're playing a game makes me think this happened.
This happened. Just a dopey little article that I found on Yahoo. Does anyone still read Yahoo? Somehow it still comes up on my radar. Okay, this is just republished from BuzzFeed. 25 of the nicest and nastiest celebrities people have ever met. Just going to kind of make this up as I go. I'm going to say the name, and you're going to tell me, is this a good person or a dickhead McGee?
Alrighty.
While at an urgent care in Beverly Hills, I met Ashton Kutcher. I was sick and stressed and couldn't find the office. My anxiety took over. I crumpled into a tiny ball and put my head in my hands. Something happened a moment later, Scott. Was it a positive or negative experience from Ashton Kutcher?
I think Ashton Kutcher's a good guy from everything I've read about him.
A moment later, someone tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I was okay. I looked up and there was Ashton pushing a stroller with his baby. He helped me up and walked with me to the doctor's office. I wish I had never been so sick during that encounter. Nevertheless, his kindness and warmth were deeply appreciated. That's cool.
Yeah.
See, that's a good story. I like that.
That's the kind of media that I've heard about Ashton Kutcher.
I know he's a big investor now. He's not even on TV so much. Maybe he's not on TV at all. I don't know. But I know he's taken a lot of his money from his early gigs and reinvested them in businesses, and some of them took off. So he's awfully fucking rich behind the scenes because of some of his smart decisions. That's cool. So not all celebrities suck.
Yeah.
But let me name another one. Maybe this one sucks. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I met Julia Louis-Dreyfus in line for the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland. She was right in front of us with her kids, and it was clear she was on a family outing. This was right after Seinfeld had ended, and I was a huge fan of the show. I didn't want to draw attention to her or anything, so I just smiled at her. ... What happened next, Scott? Was it a positive thing or a negative thing?
I'm going to say a negative thing, but I don't know if that makes her a dickhead McGee. I mean, she's out with her family. She probably just wants to exist. I don't know. I think it's going to be a negative thing, but I don't think it's going to be enough to paint her as a straight-up dickhead.
I like your thinking. I didn't want to draw attention to her or anything, so I just smiled at her, and she smiled back. We ended up chatting about Disneyland and what rides we had been on. Just as she was getting on the ride, she turned around and smiled and winked at me. I'm convinced that was her way of saying thank you for not interrupting her day with her family. The friend I was with didn't realize who she was and was like, "Oh, that lady was so nice."
Oh, so I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong.
All right. This is a fun one. Central Intelligence did some filming in Boston in my friend's neighborhood. Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart. They were both around. One was a nice guy, and one, as it says here, is a total jackass. Who is the nice guy? Who is the jackass?
Well, we've been talking about him quite a bit. I want to think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's a nice guy, but I bet you he was the jackass. Kevin Hart's a Philly guy. He could have just been being Philly. This could go either way, but I'm going to say Kevin Hart's a nice guy.
Apparently, Dwayne Johnson was so courteous and very fan-friendly. He loved interacting, offered up smiles and hugs and conversations, the works, gave autographs, and made people smile when he had the time. Kevin Hart was a total jackass that didn't want to be bothered. He went out of his way to make sure nobody talked to him or got near him, and he had just the worst holier-than-thou attitude.
Was this any time around Super Bowl 52 where the Eagles beat the shit out of the New England Patriots?
He was pretty drunk then. So he might still just be like having a hangover. This might be the day after. He was just in a bad mood.
Okay. I could just see them being in Boston and him just keeping his head low as a Philly guy, not wanting to be hassled by, Southies.
Being Philly guys, Scott and I were like, super excited for the Eagles to fucking finally win a Super Bowl. And there's Nick Foles, and he's holding up that damn trophy, and he looks so good. I got a picture holding that exact trophy. I'm so proud of that moment. And then you look to the right, and there's Kevin Hart drunk trying to climb up onto the podium. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, glomming onto that moment.
Yeah. Okay. It's getting fun. I once spilled a very large, very colorful drink on Kate Hudson. How do you think this went?
I hope good. I want it to be a good experience.
My girlfriend and I ended up in a VIP area at a music festival totally by accident. We weren't supposed to be there, but walked right in, not knowing it was restricted. Since we were already there, we decided to stay. We ended up in a corner as to not draw any attention to ourselves, and I walked over to the bar occasionally to get us drinks and bring them back. A few hours later, sorry for the exposition, I guess I could have cut this one down. A few hours later, and more than a few hours later, my girlfriend decided she had enough. She had to have one more margarita in one of those yard glasses and attempted to bring one back with a few beers. Long story short, she soaks Kate Hudson. But Kate Hudson was incredibly awesome about it. And luckily, my girlfriend had an extra shirt with her that she could change into. So Kate Hudson basically took the shirt of the girl that spilled the drink on her and just wore that and said, "C'est la vie."
That's great. What are you going to do? You can't unspill the drink. And plus, those yard glasses are the dumbest fucking things I've ever seen in my life. So impractical.
All right, I'll give you two more. My uncle met Harrison Ford once. Uh-oh. He's a helicopter mechanic and was doing repairs on one of his helicopters. What did he think of Harrison Ford? I think you're a dickhead McGee. He said he's an incredibly nice and down-to-earth guy. He's just very private. He took my uncle and some other people out to lunch as a thank you, and they went to this tiny restaurant in the middle of nowhere in New York. Apparently, he has a few out-of-the-way restaurants that he likes to go to where he won't be bothered by the paparazzi.
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting because we've been watching, and we've talked about it, we've been watching some interviews with him lately. We're like, he's kind of a weird guy.
Oh, big time.
All right, I'll give you my last one. Jared Leto. This person had met Jared Leto at a radio station. I think you know the answer. I think everybody knows the answer. I'll just read what it says. I work for a radio station and had to deal with him a couple times, and he was awful. The ego on him is truly massive, and he's a gigantic creep. And if you know much about him in real life, yes, he's a gigantic creep. But actually, the article really named a bunch of people. I don't know how many of these you know. Mindy Kaling is supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody's amazing. Keegan-Michael Key is amazing. Gordon Ramsay isn't mean. He's actually amazing. Oscar Isaac is amazing. Topher Grace is amazing. So most of these people were amazing until you get to like some of the ones that you really knew were dickheads and had always heard about it.
But you can add your buddy Gary to the list of nice guys.
He's on there, man. He's right there with Sacha Baron Cohen, Tony Hawk.
You know what? I'm surprised that this article had such a positive slant.
Yeah, these days, positivity doesn't sell. You know what? Sex doesn't even seem to sell anymore. You don't see sexy commercials anymore.
All we sell is fear, man. Fear is what sells now. Fear and uncertainty of the unknown and of others and of outsiders and polarization.
Are you kidding? We're all screwed.
Hey, we got some mail.
Oh, it's been a while.
This was very nice. This comes from Joanne. Joanne. We actually have a female listening. I was sure we only had men listening to our show, so that's awesome. Actually, I know Michelle listens too. Brother Michelle.
I know a few girls that listen.
My wife listens, I think. She says she does, but again, we have no metrics to be able to prove or deny any of this. So Joanne says, just to add something on Jim Belushi, since his name was recently brought up as the brother of John Belushi, and you guys mentioned what he's doing now. It so happens he had a show on whatever channel, and I believe he gave up Hollywood and has a farm in Oregon and grows marijuana. And I don't believe for medical purposes. That's I like that little addition. Apparently, pot is legal in Oregon. I used to watch his show, although it was short-lived. So in reality, it fits the theme of your podcast regarding actors' last movies. Sort of. Yeah. What was his show? I don't remember. I do remember he had a show where he was like a dad, but I can't remember what the show was called.
Wasn't it like According to Jim or something along those lines? Yeah. I do remember seeing a TV show on like A&E or TLC where he was showing how he's growing weed and making inroads in the legalization of recreational marijuana. But I forgot all about that. That is funny, though.
Yeah. She says, his acting career may have died. However, he's probably making a boatload of money in pot and could care less about the actor strike.
I'm sure of it. Yeah, but he even tried to turn that weed business into reality TV, I think.
What channel?
Like I said, TLC or A&E or Discovery or, you know, one of those things where you have like my 10,000 pound life or Two Large Sisters or A Ghost Ruined My Life or, you know, all those reality kind of bullshit TV shows. Something like that.
I like that I asked what channel after you read them all.
Well, it's okay. You may be partaking in some of Mr. Belushi's product for all we know.
Not at the moment. I'm more like the radio guy. Because I was busy reading the next line. Oh, professional broadcasters. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep the conversation going while you're reading and queuing up the next segment. It's an art form.
You just Amy'd me. You just bitched last week how Amy did that same thing to you, and you just did it to me.
Yeah.
You dirty bastard.
Yell at her. She's starting it. She's setting a bad precedent. She's rubbing off on me.
Two wrongs don't make a right, Bill.
Hey, you know what? We got some mail, but we also got some fuck-upperies.
Okay. I have one.
Oh, I want to hear what yours is, because I want to see if this is the one that matches Brother Steve's.
Just listening back to last week's episode, I realized that in looking at back to school and school-themed comedy movies, can't believe I forgot Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
You know what, though? I don't remember that being a back-to-school movie.
Well, it was a high school movie. I mean, Ferris Bueller really wasn't even a back-to-school movie. It was more of a cutting-school movie, but if that made the list, Fast Times certainly should have.
Yeah, Amy had said to me when she came over, she goes, I got one. She goes, you even played the music for Grease too, but you didn't mention any of the Grease movies. I was like, well, Scott doesn't really like the Grease movies, so it probably didn't even pop into his head.
Plus, they're musicals. They're not comedies. I don't think they're funny, so they're more musicals, and they weren't going to make the cut. But Dazed and Confused could have made the list too, but it didn't. But Fast Times should have probably before any of those things we just mentioned there. But what's Brother Steve have to say?
Well, he caught you on one that I heard it go by, and I went, think he's right, but that might not be. He says, Scott mixed up the French Connection, because we talked about William Friedkin dying.
Yes.
And the Italian Job. The Italian Job had the Mini Coopers.
The Mini Coopers. He's absolutely right. Yeah.
All right. So we've cleared the air. We have fixed this. Nobody's mad at us anymore.
Now we're getting internationally canceled because I confused the French and the Italians. God damn it.
We were just breaking through to, where were we, Estonia?
Yeah. Estonia, yeah. Number 12 still in Estonia.
Wow.
Holding strong.
They love American pop culture told to them by two old dudes.
I'll own that. You are absolutely right, Steve.
Well, what do you say? You want to talk about something else?
Do you want to talk about 1980s and 90s consumerism?
Are we going all the way back to Reaganomics and that kind of stuff?
Some of this falls into that. Yeah, absolutely. Now, when I proposed this, you told me I was pretty much going to have to carry this show because you would change the channel whenever any of these things came on. And I'm telling you, some of these products, some of these commercials, there is no way in hell you missed this back in the day. Now, in looking at infomercials, there's kind of two different categories. The ones that my brother and I watched on Saturday mornings were like the full-on informational marketing programs that were on for like an hour. They would always have like a host, and then they would have like the presenter come on and cut things in half or bake or all that shit. And then there were the ones that were just like straight up 60-second commercials that they would intersperse in between regular commercial breaks. So I kind of broke down between the two of them here. I think I'm going to start with the commercial ones first. No particular order. All these things are going to have theme songs or lines or things that are such pop culture things. These were definitely on your radar, Bill. I don't care how much you tried to avoid them. It was impossible. With that, I think I have to start with 1984's The Clapper. You remember The Clapper?
Clap on, clap off. The Clapper.
Absolutely. See, you're right. Now, how could I have forgotten The Clapper?
The Clapper was one where it only seemed to ever be advertised around Christmas time. They really pushed this as a thing where you can clap your hands and turn on your Christmas tree. Like, that was always a big part of the commercial. And I'm almost positive that at first, when it first came out in 84, you could only purchase this through the television. You would call the telephone number, you would get the number, you would give your credit card, they would mail you the Clapper. Over time, like many of these things, over time, it became available at your local Walgreens, or, you know, they would always direct you to certain stores to go to. But the Clapper is one that started off as a 60-second commercial with that catchy theme. Clap on, clap off, the Clapper.
I remember the commercial had an old lady laying in bed, and I kind of looked at it like, oh, this is a neat product. You know, she doesn't have to get out of bed. She's an old person. But then I remember going, but I want it too. And I'm a young kid, and I have no excuse to not get out of bed and be lazy.
And to paint the rest of that picture, the old lady like wakes up and turns over. The lamp's on, the television's on. She claps her hands and both turn off, and she like quick turns back over and goes right back to bed.
Yes, I remember. It was like some really violent jerk back to bed. What was she in such a rush? It was like an annoyance. Like, oh, God, I got to turn the fucking lights off. Right? That was the vibe she gave me.
That was totally the vibe, and it definitely sold the Clapper. Nowadays, fast forward, we all have smart outlets and smart light bulbs, and you just, hey, turn off the lights. Off goes the lights, off goes the television.
I know. It's great.
It's a problem with the past. But the Clapper may have been the original, as far as smart homes.
I've thought about the Clapper many times since yelling to my assistant, I don't want to say the G word because it'll wake up. But yeah, and then I'll be like, turn off the lights. And I'll be like, that's just like the Clapper. So cool.
How about another hit from the 80s? Life Alert.
Yes. Oh, my God. You're right. That was everywhere.
To remind you of this, all I have to say is, help, I've fallen.
Help, I've fallen
and I can't get up. You know, they actually copyrighted that saying. I mean, they didn't copyright until like the late 1990s, but Life Alert actually owns that phrase.
Everybody was saying it. It was like every joke used it. Everybody would just think about that commercial and use that joke or use that line. You're right. That was pretty fucking big.
Let's jump over to one of the full-length ones. This one here came from 1991, so I would have been 11. The Thigh Master.
Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne Summers, indeed. Yeah, she pushed this whole thing. This was a whole half hour, if not an hour-long commercial of her using the Thigh Master while wearing a very high-cut leotard.
So wait a minute. So it was just like a workout video, and they turned it into an infomercial?
Kind of. And then she'd be talking to other people and saying, like, look how much you can really feel the burn after just a few moments. And yeah, that's what it was. Look how toned I am in her Reebok Princess high tops.
It worked on my mother. She had one. I've never once seen her use it, but I just remember like seeing it laying around once in a while. And like, you know, I was going to try to, you know, do the Suzanne Summers. So I put it between my legs. I'm like, gee, what the fuck is this thing? It's too strong for a kid.
I think the Thigh Master, you know, even in present day, there's still some infomercials that are really pushing like get in shape health type things. I'm thinking of the Shake Weight that came out not that long ago. I say not that long ago. It's probably been 10, 15 years. Remember the Shake Weight was a whole infomercial?
Yeah. I remember that. Had a great cameo in Thor Ragnarok. Remember?
Yeah, I do. I remember some really great parodies that came out about the Shake Weight. Saturday Night Live did some stuff. That was good.
I remember that.
The earliest one I have on here is 1978, Ginsu Knives, as you mentioned at the top of the show. And Ginsu Knives was always that was another half hour long one, if not an hour long, where they would cut everything from, you know, frozen broccoli to the front of a leather boot and then go back and just slice that tomato thin as can be.
That's right, the boot. I used to really enjoy them cutting that boot. That was very satisfying.
They cut a tin can in half. They cut everything and never needed sharpening. Never needed sharpening.
So you're telling me that came out in 70, you said 78?
78 was when it very first premiered. I don't know if the infomercial was that well polished in 78. It was probably not until like 84, 85 till we had what I remember as the Ginsu infomercial. But in fact, the name Ginsu was just something that they made up to kind of like make people give the imagery of like sharp Japanese samurai swords. But yeah, it's just a made up word.
It could cut through a nail though, Scott.
I know. And then go right back to cutting through that tomato. And it could slice a piece of paper, barely even trying.
Yeah. So I get it now. All right, so they sold a shit ton of Ginsu knives for years, and then they just had so much fucking Ginsu knives that they had to sell another product. And if you act now, you can get some free fucking Ginsu knives.
That was the tagline, right? But wait, there's more. If you order now and promise to tell a friend, we're going to send you a whole second set of Ginsu knives.
Yeah.
Twice the amount of knives for the same price.
I remember always wondering, too, because it would be like, if you order in the next 30 minutes, I'm like, is somebody sitting there? Did somebody play this commercial while I was watching my show? And are they really sitting there going, okay, game on?
You're on the clock, asshole. I was like, how do they know if you told a friend or not? And like some of them were like, we're going to send you a whole other set of knives to give to a friend. Well, that's never happening.
They must have had warehouses of fucking Ginsu knives they couldn't get rid of.
But Ginsu, much like there was a lot of like self-help products, there was a lot of household products. And probably the king, and I mentioned him at the top of the show, the king of infomercials, Mr. Ron Popeil, inventor and salesman for Ronco, his own company. And he's pushed a lot of shit over the years. The Chop-O-Matic, the Food Rotisserie, the Food Dehydrator, the Veg-O-Matic, and the Pocket Fisherman, which is completely out of left field.
It's back, the Popeil Pocket Fisherman.
I caught a 3-pound trout with it. Wow! I got one for Christmas and it's really cool. I just caught these with my Pocket Fisherman.
Shut up!
What was that? Wasn't it like a Swiss Army knife for fishing?
It reminded me like a smaller version of those things you can like wrap up extension cords on, but it was like pocket sized, and it just had fishing line on it with a little bobber and a hook. The Pocket Fisherman. And the infomercial, he was catching fish left and right.
Yeah. Yeah. Came up with that. He walked into like a fabric store and bought a thing of thread and said, I could sell this. I could repurpose this. Put a hook on the end.
Do you recall the popular phrase for the rotisserie?
I do remember him having ovens, but no, and having stuff that could cut. But Chop-O-Matic, rotisserie, all that.
All that was Ronco. Yeah. And for the rotisserie, all you have to do is set it and...
Forget it, kid. This guy's a serious asshole.
Forget it?
You got it. And on this infomercial, he would have like 8 different rotisseries going. One has a full turkey. One has on 2 Cornish game hens. One has on a Thanksgiving ham or an Easter ham. And he has these all going, and he just sets up the next one. And he goes, it just said it. And the whole audience goes, and forget it. And he just goes on to the next one, and they all get done at different times. He comes back, and look at that, juicy as can be. You can walk around. You can walk the dog. You don't have to sit by your kitchen anymore. You just set it and forget it.
It's ringing a bell now.
And the meals just cook itself.
And you could cut that turkey with a Ginsu knife and look at all the great juices.
Well, no, Ron Popeil had his own knife set, too. In fact, if you call now and mention this promo code, there were no promo codes. We're still doing kind of promo codes now, though, that you think about it. This is just the, Liquid IV. This is just a new extension of call now and mention this and in the next 30 minutes. And but if you ordered the Food Dehydrator, you would get a set of 5 Ronco steak knives.
So who are the big players so far? You have Ronco and you have the Ginsu makers.
The Ginsu makers and Ronco were big ones. There was also another guy in the kitchen, Chef Tony. Chef Tony sold all kinds of shit. But I don't really remember his exact products. I just remember him as a character. And honestly, a lot of these individuals, I'm going to get into some here that were just 30-second commercials, but a lot of these products, the salesman became just as well known, famous or infamous, if you will, as the products that they were pushing. So let's pop over here. We got the slap chop.
The what?
The slap chop?
I don't
Remember
know.
the slap chop?
I don't know the slap chop.
Well, it came out in 2008, so this is a newer thing. So 2008, by this time, we're skipping commercials. But Slapchop was this punk-ass kid named Vince Offer. And Vince is the guy that quoted the line of, "It's made in Germany. You know, the Germans make good things." And basically the Slapchop was just very much like Ron Popeil's Chop-O-Matic. You take your vegetables or you take your walnuts or whatever and you put them underneath this thing and you smack the shit out of it and this blade goes down and shifts around and chops them all up. And you lift it up and boom, there you have a nice little pile of chopped up food.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. He was inspired by a hammer.
Well, Vince didn't stop there. Vince also went on to sell the ShamWow.
Oh, was he the ShamWow guy?
He was the ShamWow guy too.
Yeah.
Same fucking guy. Yep.
This guy just basically takes an everyday thing and makes it slightly better. Because a chamois is just a cloth that is made of different material. But didn't he get in trouble? Didn't that guy get in trouble?
He got caught trying to buy cocaine, I believe, in a very inconspicuous way. I believe he was in a wedding party and he was wearing a kilt and he went out trying to score cocaine while wearing a kilt. And it didn't go well for him. I believe that was the end of Vince, if I recall correctly.
I remember seeing pictures of him holding a ShamWow, and I remember seeing pictures of him in a mugshot.
I think that was the story there.
That's awesome.
Billy Mays. Do you remember Billy Mays?
Billy Mays here.
What was he selling? Do you recall?
No, because I'd hear Billy Mays here and I'd turn it off.
Billy Mays started it off in 1997 with OxyClean.
Okay, definitely remember. You know what? I'm pretty sure I saw a can of OxyClean in our house. So
OxyClean, the powder you mix with water, and then you can get out iodine, rust, blood stains, you name it, it fucking comes out. Wine. You just be throwing various liquids on top of a piece of carpet, and then just got his little spray bottle there of OxyClean, and good as new.
I love those. Talk about satisfying. When you watch those things, which I never believed for a second, take grass stains off like a perfectly white dress. It's like, wow.
That's right.
So this is one of them commercials.
Exactly. And I think Billy Mays is no longer with us either. I think he passed away.
I'll bet you it had something to do with cocaine. There's a trend here, I think.
I don't know. He was pretty high energy for a guy that didn't use the Columbia marching powder.
That's exactly where I was going. How did Billy Mays die? Google says. Well, right here, number one result, CNN, autopsy, cocaine a factor in Billy Mays' death.
I knew it.
How about it?
Wow.
How did Ron Popeil die? Please let it be a cocaine overdose.
I think good old Ron died of old age. He died of old age on top of a giant pile of money.
Did he go out with a good reputation? I remember Weird Al did a parody of him before I was even aware of who he was. So he was a pretty big character. I mean, if Weird Al was doing a send-up on you, you must have been important.
Yeah, I don't know. I never heard anything bad happen with him. I never heard any kind of controversy or anything like that. His products always had a lifetime guarantee.
No, I hope Billy Mays' products do, because like I was saying earlier, I'm pretty sure we have a thing of OxyClean. And now it's got me wondering if this is all the way from like 2008 or whatever he was selling. Well, when he was hawking that shit.
I'll tell you what, OxyClean seems to be put in like a lot of different laundry detergents and all kinds of stuff now. Like it's like with Oxy. So like they really throw that on a lot of different things. But not all these things were left in the kitchen or in the gym, the home gym. Some of these were just toys for kids because we can market at kids now because it's the 1990s.
Thank you, Reagan.
Remember Sock'em Boppers?
The fighting robots with the joysticks?
No, but funny you should mention that because they got sued by Mattel because Sock'em sounded too much like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Right.
Sock'em Boppers were, quote, more fun than a pillow fight. These were giant inflatable boxing gloves that you put on your hands and just beat the fuck out of your sibling with.
Oh, I've owned those. Yeah, I had them.
Yeah. And inflatable or not, if you punch somebody square in the face with them, fucking hurts.
No fucking lie. Yeah, because they don't cushion your fist. They only cushion around your hand.
Yeah.
So if you're backhanding somebody, it's probably great. But if you're punching them straight in the jaw, it offers no protection whatsoever.
I remember my nose, like, I think I got the wind knocked out of me before with these things. I mean, more fun than a pillow fight, maybe, but more dangerous than a heavyweight boxing match. This came out in the 1990s. I don't have its exact year, but sold more than 5 million units in the US, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, Australia, and the UK. They're now called soccer boppums because that lawsuit came across from Mattel, so they couldn't use sock'em anymore.
So soccer,
yeah. They also made things like inflatable swords and inflatable shields and things like that, probably because of many complaints of people getting broken noses and concussions and, things of the sort.
Has anyone made it inflatable underpants? Has anybody thought of this yet? I'm going to see if I could sell that. I'd have to figure out a good need for inflatable underpants. I want to make them. I just don't know why I want to make them. So I'll be thinking about that as we continue the show.
Do you think you can sell them as a life-saving device?
Billy Mays here. Are you a man who can't swim and you don't want people to know?
Billy Seabold here. Are you guys tired of not being able to tread water when you're high on fucking angel dust? Worry no more. Inflatable underpants.
Yeah, it didn't go well when too many parties were ended by somebody floating dead in the water and it's just their pelvis.
Nobody wants to die ass up.
No shit.
Well, keeping it in the toy aisle, we have pillow pets. Remember pillow pets?
No, are they like Popples?
They're not like Popples. It's almost like a regular bed pillow with an animal head on one end and feet on all four corners. It has like a Velcro strap that you can like strap one of the long sides of the pillow to the other to make it look like a little stuffed animal. But it's really just a bed pillow. They had unicorns and dogs and bears and alligators and you name it. They had an animal, but you could only buy them through the television.
Sounds like those old 70s throw rugs of like the tiger.
Yeah, like a bearskin rug.
Yeah.
You're not far off. You're not far off.
Burt Reynolds laying naked on it in front of a fireplace.
But he wouldn't have to be naked if he had 2009's Snuggie.
Oh.
Remember that fucking cult?
Yeah. The Snuggie cult.
Yeah. I remember Arsenio Hall wearing one like on a red carpet someplace, or at like a baseball game or a basketball game. Arsenio Hall is there wearing like this giant cloak-looking blue Snuggie.
You gotta wonder if he was sponsored. Who are you wearing? Snuggie.
Snuggie. And to round this whole thing out, keeping it in the bedroom, quite a controversial one here. My Pillow.
Oh, yeah, we're really modern day now.
Very modern day. This is still going on. So My Pillow started off, you could not buy it in stores. You could only buy it by calling the number or going to the website, because eventually, of course, the internet comes into this and they direct you to the website. It's no longer the blue screen with the yellow phone number and the Visa on one side and the MasterCard on the other. And you can pay by COD, which I still vaguely understand. But you can go to the website now and buy all this stuff online. But My Pillow started off that way. You can only go to the mypillow.com. You could, buy the pillows and all that. Then you started getting carried in Bed Bath Beyond and Walmart's and all these other stores. Well, guess what? We've gone full circle because all those people stopped carrying his product because of his political bullshit. And now he's back to just being an online retailer.
I read something where they talked about his business losses because he just talks about it like, I lost a lot of money. He doesn't seem to mind. It's crazy to me.
And by his, we're talking about Mike Lindell from My Pillow.
Yeah.
Also a cokehead. There's a theme here, man.
Yeah.
There is a theme here. Big time cocaine charges in his past.
He's the kind of guy that makes me think about what I just saw in that last Chris Rock special when Chris Rock was talking about this new trend for products to have a political agenda. He's like, I don't care. He goes, I don't want your agenda. And that's the same thing with My Pillow. Like, he could have just sold pillows, but he had to bring his agenda into it.
Yep. It was working for him for quite a while.
Oh, it was?
He made a fortune selling My Pillow.
Oh, right, because he was a Fox News, a big advertiser there. So, sure, okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but the early days, it was just No politics, nothing. It was just, look, we just got to get some fucking chopping done.
Got slap chop.
I remember Cher had one that was always on. And I can't remember if it was before or after she had that big return where she did the voice.
She could turn back time?
Yeah, where the voice was, oh, like the very first time they ever turned that vocoder all the way up. Do you believe in love? Whatever that was. Yeah, so I remember she had one. Joan Rivers.
What was she selling? Do you remember?
No, you'll have to look it up. Because she was always like supposed to be too big for this kind of thing, and there she was on an infomercial.
Joan Rivers sold a lot of jewelry, I remember.
Cher's 1993 infomercial for Lori Davis hair care products.
This would have been one that I did not watch.
Yeah. I do remember probably watching some longer than usual. Never quite like you. But I do remember that there's some that will do like a small speaking segment. And then they kind of roll into a commercial package. And then they return to another talking segment. Then they roll into another 60-second commercial package. And it's just like, it's almost like a show. And then you see commercials for the same thing that the show is talking about. It's pretty exhausting. If you're not in love with this product by the time they ram it down your throat for an hour, something's wrong with you.
It was aggressive sales tactics for sure. And they really gave that urgency of, wait, 30 minutes or less. And they have like a little timer counting down, but the timer didn't mean shit. You could have wrote down that phone number and called it a week later. You're still getting the same deal.
Yeah. So QVC is in our neck of the woods. They were actually a client of mine. I've gone to their campus and it's huge. Like, yeah, it's big money what they do. Do you feel that is basically infomercials? Because at the end of the day, aren't they a channel of infomercials selling products that they carry?
Exactly what it is.
Are there still infomercials out there, like traditional ones, or is the home shopping networks and the QVCs just become what's up?
The big one that's going on right now is Flex Seal. Like Flex Seal, but the problem with Flex Seal is you can go to Lowe's and buy Flex Seal. So I crossed that off the list because, they they have the classic thing where they have the rowboat with the whole bottom cut out and they have a screen door put in the bottom of the rowboat, but they sprayed it with Flex Seal and now he's out there rowing across the river. So that started off kind of like a lot of these where you couldn't buy it. You were unable to find this in stores anywhere. You were only able to buy it through the website or through the phone number. But I think we mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of these things now are, quote, as seen on TV, where you can go to like your local department store, your local drugstore. They have a whole section. I think even Target has a whole as seen on TV section where you can just go and find a lot of this crazy shit. So this is a small sampling, I'm sure, of all of them. These were some of my favorites, though. And I have a question for you. Have you ever owned any of these things?
I don't think so. Yes, I have. Did George Foreman's grill, wasn't that an infomercial? I owned a George Foreman grill.
Yes, sir. It was an infomercial. Now, this was one, again, that you could buy in stores and out there. But when it first came out, George Foreman was doing the deal where he was making a steak on this one and a hamburger on that one and a chicken breast on this one. But George Foreman was an infomercial. I owned a George Foreman. I also owned a Snuggie. It might be right here in this dresser drawer, as a matter of fact.
We need a photo for the website. You'll be the cover of this episode.
I can make that happen. Yeah, man. These were great. These were great. And you know what? In doing preparation for this episode, I have another episode we're going to do in the not-so-distant future. All those classic rock and country music song compilations, the Time Life Music Presents, we're going to do an episode about them too, because I came across a lot of that shit.
There is a power ballad one that every time I hear any one of the songs on it, because
Can you take me high enough?
And then in that commercial where it switches to the next song by a totally different band, suddenly it switches to Carrie by Europe.
Yes.
I can't listen to any one of them songs now on the radio without hearing it switch because I'm more used to the commercial than the actual songs.
Yep. Hey, is that Power Ballads? Turn it up.
Oh, God. Yeah. Good topic. All right.
A whole other animal. I can't combine it with this one here, but there's enough there for a standalone episode.
Amazing.
Stay tuned.
Good work. Let's do some news. Well, here's my first article. This comes from EW. Zachary Levi, star of Shazam 2, slams the garbage coming out of Hollywood. He says, we have to actively not choose the garbage. He's right. We didn't go to see fucking Shazam 2. I read this headline. I laughed so hard. That's it. I'm moving on. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to read the article. I just wanted to read the headline.
This is like, is this news for him and other actors, or is this just self-affirmation to not choose shit scripts?
Yeah, he's still upset that he believes his movie. Well, we talked about this in news. It was a news item a couple weeks ago. He thinks his movie was great. He thinks it's unfair that he got shit on. He's like, I don't understand. There's bad movies, but mine was good. You guys were mean. And it's like, no, man, your movie wasn't good. I saw it. Can you hear the dogs? It would be a podcast without a couple growling dogs behind it. Yeah,
they didn't like it.
No, I wonder how many times. Ooh, you hear it? It's juicy. They're so ferocious. They're two little schnauzers that play with each other. I know you all hear them every once in a while in the edits because I can't get them out when they go crazy like that. Here's one from Variety. Elizabeth Banks. Do you know who she is?
She was the director of Cocaine Bear.
That's right.
And she was also in Pitch Perfect and a lot of other movies. She was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. Yeah, she's a lot of Judd Apatow movies she's in.
Yeah, I like her. So she made that Charlie's Angels movie a couple years ago.
I don't think I saw that one.
Elizabeth Banks, the director of the 2019 action comedy Charlie's Angels, recently spoke to Rolling Stone about the media's role in the film's gendered agenda. Banks expressed frustration that the media portrayed the movie as a feminist manifesto and focused on her being the first female director of a Charlie's Angels. She felt that this pigeonholed both her and the audience for the film. Banks also recalled having to ask for the film to be promoted to men, as the industry seemed to view it as only for women. Thought that was interesting. It's like she didn't want to make a movie with a political agenda. It just kind of went that way. And she's like, listen, this isn't a feminism movie. This is an action movie for everybody. Yeah, I remember when this came out. I remember thinking, all right, I'm not supposed to see this, so I won't. Fine.
Yeah, but I think the Barbie movie is blowing the doors off of that theory. It's not just women going to see the Barbie movie hitting $1 billion in 17 days.
Yeah. Banks currently stars in Apple's The Beanie Bubble, available on Apple TV+.
I saw commercials for this.
Is that about Beanie Babies?
Yeah, I don't think they call them Beanie Babies, but it's exactly what it's about. Yeah.
I thought this was interesting from moviehole.net. Not even sure how valid that is as a news source. I just like that they're named Movie Hole. What was the name of the website? Oh, Movie Poop Shoot. It Clerks.
That's right. That's right.
So this reminds me of Movie Poop Shoot. David Ayer, the director of Suicide Squad, revealed that DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn promised him that his director's cut of the film, known as the Ayer Cut, will be released at some point. Ayer shared the update on X, formerly known as Twitter. How long is that going to go on? Oh,
I've been seeing it all over the place.
Anyway, Ayer shared an update responding to a fan who doubted the Ayer Cut would be released under Gunn's leadership. Ayer mentioned that he spoke with Gunn and teased that good things are coming. He noted that Gunn has the right to establish his new universe before revisiting the past. In November 2022, though, Gunn acknowledged the fans' desire for the future of the DC universe and stated that he's listening and open to everything as he looks ahead to his next task as DC Studios chief. Ayer previously said that his cut of the Suicide Squad is vastly better than the theatrical version and only needs some VFX work for a full release. So I don't know if you know about this, right? You know about the Snyder cut, the Justice League. So did you know that there was an Ayer cut? Because when that Suicide Squad movie came out, it was cut up way more than anybody expected when they first started the production. So there.
And this is the one with Will Smith and the Jackal and things like. This isn't the one with like the shark and Idris Elba and Polka Dot Boy. Like that was the second one with the giant starfish.
Correct.
But the first one had in Will Smith as Deadshot.
Yep. Or Bloodshot. Okay. I mix it.
Deadshot. Yeah, I don't know. Bullseye. I don't know.
But it had the charming Jared Leto as the Joker. So when that came out, everybody was like, "Oh my God, we're going to watch a lot of Joker stuff," and there was hardly any Joker in it. So he got cut pretty heavily. And I don't remember the reason why the movie was cut. I remember when the commercial came out. It was kind of like, wow, we're interested in this. But I don't know where the production then went off the rails because the movie was in production when the commercial came out. But yeah, I went and saw it. I was super disappointed. And then you started to hear these rumblings of, this wasn't this guy's movie. This was a movie that was recut at the last minute by producers who were panicked. And I think they were inspired, and maybe it was like Deadpool or Logan or something that was big when that came out. They were like, hey, we have to jump. Maybe it was Deadpool. We have to jump onto the bat bandwagon, and we have to be more like that. Maybe there's some kind of shit like that where they just made some bad business decisions on this movie, and they took it away from the creative. So re-releasing Suicide Squad, it's interesting to me. I'd love to see it. I love director cuts of things, but I don't know. Is anybody really looking for this anymore?
I mean, that raises the question I have for you. How long do you think James Gunn's leash is over there? Like, how many things can he try and maybe revive this thing before they're just like, nope, you're not the right guy either. Axe him and go about their way. I mean, I feel like anything happening at Warner Brothers right now, or Max, whatever the hell you want to call it, Discovery Warner, is that what it is now?
Yeah.
Warner Brothers Discovery. They seem to be just like fire people and restart and rehire and reboot, and like there's really no longevity. So how long of a leash is James Gunn really going to have to start doing shit like this?
Unless he figures out a way to put it out as extra content on maybe Max or something like that, but I can't see that being a theater release. Yeah, that's a great question. I'll bet you if he has 3 movie theater flops, that'll be it.
Has that tally already started?
I don't know. When did they officially say it's James Gunn time?
I don't know. I'm hearing positive things about this Blue Beetle now.
Really?
I'm reading that projections of ticket sales, the Blue Beetle may be reviving the DCU.
Wait a minute. I just read a story last week saying it's projected to be the lowest sales ever of any kind of superhero property.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That's what I was hearing all along. I was just like, oh, wait. Now it's good. But I can't believe that.
We'll see. We'll see. It looks like just another movie like every other superhero movie. I definitely have superhero fatigue.
Yeah, but now they can push it back. Any movie coming out now, they can push back saying that, like, well, it's because of the strike and the stars. You did a story 2 weeks ago talking about how because of the strike, the stars really can't promote the movie for the Blue Beetle. And I was like, what stars? Like, who are we talking about? Who's going to make me care about this? Because I don't.
Yeah, that strike, that's still the only thing going on in Hollywood. It's every story.
I think we're in like day 100. We're approaching it if we haven't already surpassed it.
Yeah.
It's been at least 3 months already. Can you believe that?
Brutal.
People are saying that if they want new content come January, they better start writing in September in order to have scripts fleshed out and sets built and everything planned and blueprinted and storyboarded. You better start writing yesterday if you want shit out by January 1.
Yeah.
So clock's ticking. The only thing I hear as far as updates on the strike is that they made a meeting to meet and set up future meetings. So there's a meeting about meetings, but no negotiations.
I know one of the things they're worried about is AI taking their jobs. And somebody said the other day, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Bryan Cranston or somebody you respect. And he made the statement. He's like, look, AI is coming. Please respect the human art. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, that's what you guys are doing. Like, you guys are really not accepting this change will not turn around at this point. It's going to happen. We're watching how the music industry handled Napster. Eventually, you're going to have to own this. They're in trouble. They have a interesting lifestyle carved out. They have a cool career, but this is just one of those changes that are coming around the corner, and it is going to absolutely change their lives. And many are going to leave the industry, and many are going to wash out where they have not washed out before because AI can write as shitty as some of the shittiest ones. I got a story here. It's about the Gran Turismo movie. Gran Turismo stalls. Did you know there was a Gran Turismo movie?
I've seen it advertised on YouTube, yeah.
Who needs it? It's a terrible... Like,
it has in the guy that plays Hopper in Stranger Things. He's like a crew chief.
Apparently the thing is a 2-hour PlayStation commercial. It's like this.
David Harbour,
yeah,
right?
David Harbour. Yeah, I'm getting a little fired up. But this is the thing that I get upset about. It's like, we got to save your jobs. You wrote the fucking Gran Turismo movie? Sorry, I'm not that sad for you. And if AI can write a better movie than you, I might be like, hey, I'm okay with going with AI. Sorry. Most people will be that way. I can already tell you.
I'm going to take a counterpoint on this. A little behind the scenes action here. We have a list of show ideas. When we try to come up with main segments and stuff to put out content, we ask ChatGPT to write us a list for 20 episodes. Give me 20 ideas. And then it was like, well, give me 20 funnier ideas. Yeah, give me, and like, I was reading through this list and like, it's fucking vanilla, dude. Like if we did some of these shows and just at face value without a human element, it'd be worse than what we're putting out now. No, I'm just kidding. But it's pretty fucking bad. There's no creativity in it. It's all status quo. It's all vanilla. It's all the same as everything that already exists that I wouldn't put out.
Yeah, my argument here is the writers now, the word or the craft rather is going to be about taking the word that comes from AI and putting your own spin on it. I work in marketing. We're using AI all the time. Anybody who ships something written by AI to a client is an asshole and an idiot. You got to take it, then you got to fine tune it. But getting ideas from it and getting somebody taking the grunt work away, it's amazing. So it's going to be here to stay. And look, here's another thing I can understand. I can understand the actors going, I'm afraid I sign up for a movie. The movie's a hit. They don't hire me for the second one. And they just CGI my face going forward like they did with, Luke Skywalker. That's a real concern that they have now. And I never thought of that when I was watching Rogue One, and I saw Princess Leia's face, but actors are very concerned about that. I guess that's kind of fair.
Fucking Peter Cushing was in that.
Right, yeah.
And he's dead.
Been dead
for a long time.
My argument then is sign better contracts. It sucks for Peter Cushing. That's not fair. But going forward, just sign contracts and say you're not allowed to use my likeness. Problem solved. So there's a lot more nuances that I read about that I just like. These seem like such dumb little things because the whole industry is turning upside down and you guys are fighting each other while the ground is kind of swallowing both of you and you don't even realize it. Both parties.
Yeah, I can see the actors' side of things. The writer's side of things, I still believe that the stuff that AI is putting out is just derivative of things that already exist. I feel like computers can't create. The creativity is not there. That needs a human element, I truly believe. Just by the way ChatGPT and the AIs work, it takes things that are already out there and reorganizes them in different ways, but not in other creative ways necessarily. That's been my experience with it.
Well, what you're getting into now is training data. So yes, you're 1,000% right. It sees correlations and closeness of words to other words. It memorizes that. So when it's writing something for you, it says the word "is" usually comes after "why," and then it's like we can put words together. And on a grander scale, it's doing the same thing with pixels and creating images, and doing the same thing with notes and creating music. You're totally right. But then what you want to go in and do is train it. This is what I believe is funny. This is what I believe is not funny. And then you say, now tell me some jokes. And it'll hit you with the kind of humor that you programmed in that you like. That's the future of it.
Yeah, it's moving fast.
You could be like, give me a Jerry Seinfeld-esque script where it's all about observational comedy. And it might land if you give it enough good comedy to use as training data.
I mean, we talked the other week about that South Park episode that was created by AI. And there was a Seinfeld 13 minutes like snippet vignette that was put together by AI. And everybody says like it wasn't funny. Like it was passable as something in that world, but it wasn't funny.
Right. But it's signs of things to come.
Well, here's my pledge to you. All the words I say on this show, I've written down on these notepads here. I'm still using a pen. I'm still using paper. The right ones, the wrong ones, the Italian Job, the French Connection, all of them. The fuck-upperies, I own it. It's mine. It's not AI, and I stand by that. Now and henceforth.
And most of the stuff that I do is AI. For example, this next summary from The Verge. Netflix. Have you heard about this? Have you heard? Netflix has begun testing of its cloud-streamed games in Canada and the UK. The company's VP of Games, Mike Verdu, I like that, Verdu, described this as a limited beta test available to a small number of members. This marks a significant step in Netflix's gaming ambitions as it expands its gaming offering beyond mobile devices to TVs and web browsers via cloud streaming. It talks about a couple games called Oxenfree and Mole Hughes Mining Adventure. I've never heard of it. I have a sense that these aren't really popular games. These are more just kind of like phone app games. And hey, isn't that cool? Yeah. You can now play phone app-esque games on Netflix. That could be cool, but I've seen a lot of other people try to put this out, and it never takes.
Like Roku tried this.
They did?
Roku, yeah. The Roku controller has like an A and B button at the bottom that was made to play mobile-type games on your phone. Fuck, Google Stadia came out, and that thing crashed and burned after about 1.5 years, 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's other big companies that have tried this that are even more established in the gaming world that it's not catching on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be tough to catch Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft at this point.
It said in the article that people will use their phones as the controller.
Yeah.
Which I guess can work, but I don't like that experience. I like joysticks, man.
Right?
I don't want a slimy little glass from my phone to to be my controller. My thumbs are terribly slippery.
One nice thing that games are doing now is that the fact that you can like multiplayer play across different platforms. It used to be back in the day, like you and I played Xbox, we couldn't play Call of Duty with somebody that played PlayStation. That's all kind of gone out the window now. Online gaming is online gaming, regardless of the platform that you use. And that's a pretty cool improvement. So if they can build that into something through Netflix, maybe, but it sounds like they're starting with some hokey ass games.
That whole crossplay thing, because I'm playing Diablo 4 now on the PlayStation 4 and everybody seems to have it on every other thing but what I got it on. So I'm like, hey guys, I figured out how to do this. Let's meet. Let's go. Your buddy Jack. Let's go. My buddy Jess. Everybody. Brian, Jen, all these people we're talking about meeting. I haven't seen one of these motherfuckers online yet.
Well, it's good in theory. Schedules still are a real thing.
Hi, it's Fitz with slap chop 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 chop.
Well, that was it for the news. That was it. We're done for the week, Scott.
All right, man.
I feel like going and spending some money.
I'm gonna cozy up in my Snuggie here and sit back, chop some onions with a slap chop. Not because I want onions, just for fun.
I do. Yeah, I cut onions for fun. I know you're not a big social media guy, but Instagram ads have a reputation of being just absolute garbage junk that it's like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? This is the greatest invention ever, and you get it, and it doesn't work. So maybe that's where the future of infomercials have gone, right into Instagram's advertising network.
Oh, pop-up ads are modern day infomercials, without a doubt.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Popeil loved having his name mentioned on our show.
Mr. Popeil is probably turning over on a rotisserie in his grave.
Oh. What an awful visual.
The nice thing is, he can set it and forget it.
Until next time.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody.
Watch this. Watch this.
Slap chop.
Watch this.
Help! I'm falling in the park and I can't get up.
Look at this, not beautiful ice cream. The reason you're gonna slap away every day is because it's so easy to clean. 1, 2, and half open my.